I'm Turt Strongman. Thank you for selecting this video. If you like it, remember to give it a thumb up. If you don't like it, please remember to give it the other thumb up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Activate the notification bell feature. Share the joy of the channel with others. Now, I want to offer you some encouragement if you have a tendency to think, or perhaps increasingly think about yourself, the older you get, perhaps increasingly, that you have been a failure in life, that although you've had your you've accomplished things, you have your achievements, you have your merit badges, you have your certifications, you have your diplomas on the wall, whatever. You have money in the bank. You have a swimming pool. But somehow, it didn't go the way you had wanted it to. You had different plans. You wanted those things to work out a little differently. You wanted them to lead you to different places than they did. You thought that you'd feel differently than you do, regardless of what things you have actually done, for whatever reasons. You think that you have fallen short of what you could have done. That you could have done more. You could have done better. You could have handled things better. You could have overcome certain things by now, but you haven't. You thought you'd know more about life, or just it didn't go the way you wanted. You had higher expectations of yourself, or you have an addiction to something. You've been smoking all your life. You can't go to sleep without pills. But you don't want it to be like that. Somehow you have failed. You're a failure. And perhaps if you were given the choice to do a lot of things over again, you'd like to have that opportunity. Perhaps you say to yourself sometimes I just wish I could go back and do it all over again, given what I know now. My goodness. Or I thought I'd be a better parent than I am. My kids, when I was a teenager, I believed that, teenagers' problems had a lot to do with their home life, their upbringing, the way they're being brought up, their what the parents are doing, how they're acting. But then when I had kids, when I had my own kids and my kids were young, my mind about that changed. Whoa! No, I wasn't going to be responsible. I'm not responsible. I'm responsible for how my kids' lives are now. But once they're adults and they're out on their own, they're adults now. I'm not going to accept any of this stuff like if my kid goes to court at the age of 30 for having committed a crime, and they want to make this argument in their defense that, hey, it was my upbringing. I'm not buying that. It's not going to come back on me. I did the best I'm doing the best I can here. And no. An adult is responsible for themselves. Then this crap these psychologists these days are propagating throughout society that, It's the parents. It's the parenting, like, the parents, a parent can easily traumatize a child for life, and it affects the kid's whole life. No, people have their choices. People have their choices. That's part of growing up. No, it doesn't. No, I'm not. No, I'm responsible for my kids now, but how they turn out, that's on them. But now, I'm starting to change my mind again. Back to the first point of view. Because I look back, my kids are grown up. I'm not so defensive about this like I was when my kids were at home. And I'm looking back and I'm seeing how my kids' lives are turning out. I had wanted better for them. And I have to say to myself, in a lot of ways as a parent, I have failed. And it really breaks my heart. All of that attitude that I had about, no, it doesn't come back on me. I think I just didn't want to accept that it just might come back on me. Because it's coming back on me now. With just me involved in that happening. I'm being honest with myself and I'm seeing the results. And after all, I realized that any of my kids' achievements when they became adults, I accepted responsibility for having made that happen. Me being such a great parent. Obviously, I was a great parent. Look, my son now runs his own business. I must have done something right. Well, if that's true, it occurred to me, if I'm going to pat myself on the back, then I also have to spank my ass for my kids' failures. And that means I am a failure because I thought I would do better as a parent. I have failed. I failed my kids. Okay. These are examples of ways that you might now or have or possibly will think of yourself as having failed in life. All right. Now the stage is set here in the video. I said I was going to offer some encouragement. Now, I'm not going to make a general statement here that I mean to apply to everybody in these circumstances. Because sometimes I think people have failed. They just, it became a detriment to humanity, a detriment to themselves, and they didn't care. I'm going to say here, I propose that, I'm going to go ahead and say, there are some people who, if they think they have failed in life, they're probably justified in saying it. Okay, but I'm not going to be talking about those people right now. Okay? So, we'll exclude those. Those people notwithstanding, or be they as they may. Don't be so hard on yourself. If you indeed yourself had some upbringing that goes into by some long chain of events, mental states, cause and effect, one thing leads to another, everything, colors, everything that follows, all those kinds of considerations, okay, yeah. And things that have worked out says that you have failed. You ended up making the same mistakes your parents did. That kind of thing. Don't be so hard on yourself, all right? Because maybe you haven't failed. I'm not saying be light on yourself you did fail, but don't take it so hard, right? You did the best you could. No, that's not what this lecture is. This lecture is different than that. In this one, you're hearing the words, maybe you didn't fail at all. And it's just your interpretation of affairs. Consider the point you started at. If you're still having some difficulties that you had when you were a kid, for whatever reasons, and you thought that by the time you were 30, you would have overcome those and long forgotten, but you haven't. And they have held you back. You could have done better in life if it wasn't for this or that. Who says you failed? Who says? Who says? Who says, right? Let's just go ahead and use the word God because it's convenient here, okay? This is for purposes of explanation. Let's say God's point of view about this. Or you talk to God about this and God says, hey, you think I care whether you smoke cigarettes all your life? You think that's a biggie? Yeah, you didn't take care of your bodily temple. You didn't take care of the your flesh body, your flesh home for your soul, your spirit. All right, you could have done better with that. But look, you think that's a big deal? So you lost your temper a lot with people who you believed were disrespecting you. Do you think that means a hell of a lot to me? Really? What I care about is what was in your heart. What I care about, son, daughter, whatever child, is whether at the end of your life you still have the capacity or even an increasing capacity throughout life to love people regardless of what you think or perceive or they have done to you. Son, what gave you the idea that in the grand picture of your life, you are the judge of whether you failed? You're standing here before me. You still have compassion for human beings. You would still help a person who was in a car crash. You would still help a child who looks like he's wandering around lost. You would still come to the aid of somebody who's crying out for help, regardless of how many times in your life you were passed by under the same circumstances. I'm looking at that. What makes you think that any of this other stuff is as important as that to me? You didn't fail. Given your starting points and given conditions that you have faced in a very difficult phase of your cosmic sojourn, and by that I mean physical life has a sting to it. It does. It's not an easy thing. You did well, given the conditions. You didn't do as well as you thought you would do with certain things. That's your point of view. I'm looking at your progress through your cosmic sojourn. I'm looking at your personal evolvement in the direction of being able to love. Being able to be aware of the source of your life, whatever you have taken it to be. To your movement or even your moments of thought. That have to do with your spiritual development as opposed to your acquisition of money. These are great achievements. In these circumstances that we're talking about here. You put those ideas that you have failed at life aside. You have an active conscience. That in itself would make it very difficult for me to say, you have failed, regardless of other affairs. That in itself, because many people come here with no conscience. No concern over how they've treated other people. No connection with the results at all. In fact, they don't feel much of anything. Those people are a different story than you. You have not failed. No, not from my point of view. No. No. Mm-mm. What did I expect of you? I expected you to be able to love, no matter what. That's what I expected. And that's what you have done. You did very well, my son. What if it works like that? Actually. I mean, who are you to say you failed? Who are you to make that judgment of your own life? Come on. Really? You don't know you failed. No. So why even think it? Made mistakes. Be honest about them. Yeah, be honest about them. To yourself, with yourself. Yes. Be accurate. Keep your memories accurate. Evaluate affairs. Be honest. But fail in life? Most likely. If you have those ideas going on in you, in your own head sometimes throughout your life, you're wrong. Okay? Most likely. Or at least, you're not the right being to be entertaining those thoughts about you. How the hell would you know, right? That you failed. And chances are you're not one of those people. I mean, just the probability of affairs is probably you're not one of those people who failed, you know. Oh, you might have been a real son of a bitch, you know, for the, like a real wrench in the spokes of humanity's constructive evolvement. Yeah, because you fell prey to this and all of that, you know, you got caught up in everything. Which is, yeah, that's the usual story. And in that context, you have not failed because you have come to me with the capacity to love, and you still have a conscience that works. Fail? Think I care? You think I care whether you got a doctorate? You feel like your purpose in life was to get a doctorate so that you could do this and that and whatever, but you only got a master's. You think I give a shit about that? Oh, yeah, you think you failed because you had a car crash and your son was in the car and your son got killed. And the car crash was your fault. Therefore, you have totally failed. It was all your fault. You totally failed. You didn't protect your son. You're a big failure. No, come on, man. You think I give a shit about that? I think it's sad for you, and I feel your pain. Yeah. I'm in you, okay? Your life force, the elements from which your body was put together, every aspect of you is of my doing, of my creation. I am the cause that has never been caused. I am the cause of everything else. I am whether anything else is. Your entire sojourn through this cosmos is completely dependent upon me. You think you know whether you failed better than what I know? I am in you. When you suffer, you know at the root of it all where the suffering is really happening. It's in me. It's my suffering because you're mine. Oh yeah, you have that going on. You have suffering and so forth. Does that mean you failed? No, that means you can feel. That's what that means. Do you think it's a black mark in my book about your life that you had an automobile accident and your son died in it? And it was your fault? Does that make you a failure? No. That makes you somebody who had an unfortunate circumstance occur in the drama of life. And it caused you to feel bad, and I felt bad. And at the same time, because everything that happens to you happens in me. By definition. Okay? All the events occur in me. Am I failure? Did I fail? Would you say I have failed? Is that what you're saying? So listen. Get rid of that thinking, will you? If you have it, if you've ever had it, and if you ever do have it, just get rid of it unless you're one of those assholes that I excluded from this discourse, from the content and the objects of this discussion. Unless you're one of them. Did you like the video? And give it a thumb up. Didn't it mean a hill of beans? Did it not mean a hill of beans to you? Or did you absolutely just find it disgusting? Then give it your other thumb up. Subscribe, activate the notification bell feature, share the joy of the channel with others. Remember, you heard it right here on Taranki Rama Chiraka. Be well! I'm Joe Strongman.